They said Derrick Rose didn't show up. They said he folded. They said the MVP disappeared when it mattered. And that lie started the moment the 2011 Eastern Conference Finals ended. Because what actually happened between Derrick Rose and LeBron James was far more uncomfortable than a simple win or loss. It wasn't about choking. It wasn't about fear. It was about something the box score can't explain. A decision, a plan, and a direct challenge that turned one series into a personal war. Game 1, Chicago. United Center shaking. Bulls take the lead late. Derrick Rose attacks the rim, splits defenders, hits the shots Miami hoped he'd miss. Chicago wins. And in that moment, something dangerous happens. Miami panics. Not publicly, not emotionally, strategically. Because Erik Spoelstra and LeBron James see it immediately. If Derrick Rose controls this series, Miami goes home again. Not because Chicago is better, but because Rose is unpredictable, fearless, and willing to take shots nobody else on the floor would even attempt. So they make a decision that night. LeBron James is no longer roaming. He is no longer helping. He is no longer conserving energy. He is hunting Derrick Rose. Game 2 looks different immediately. LeBron picks Rose up earlier. Bodies crowd the lane. Passing angles vanish. Every drive ends with contact. Hard contact. Legal, but intentional. And here's the part fans don't talk about enough. LeBron isn't trying to block Rose. He's trying to slow him down mentally, force him to think, force him to hesitate, force him to feel every possession. By halftime, you can already see it. Rose is still attacking, but now he's absorbing punishment, and Chicago has no adjustment, no secondary creator, no release valve. Every Bulls possession still ends the same way. Ball in Rose's hands, defense collapsing, decision made in less than a second. And Miami knows it. LeBron starts calling switches, demanding the matchup, not because he wants the highlight, because he wants control. Because this series isn't about outscoring Derrick Rose, it's about breaking the rhythm that made him MVP. By Game 3, the narrative flicks. The cameras catch Rose shaking his head after missed finishes, catching his breath at the free throw line, looking at teammates who don't know where to be when Miami traps. This is the moment people later misinterpret. They say Rose struggled. What actually happened is Rose was forced to play alone against a system designed specifically for him. Miami isn't guarding Chicago, they're guarding Derrick Rose's first step. Every drive meets LeBron's chest. Every spin runs into help. Every pull-up is contested by longer arms. And when Rose passes out, Miami doesn't scramble. They recover calmly, confident. Because that's the bet. Let anyone else beat us. And they don't. LeBron's side of this story matters too, but not in a flattering way, in a revealing one. This was the first time LeBron fully committed to being the stopper, not just the star. The first time he said, if this guy beats us, it won't be because I avoided him. He doesn't talk, he doesn't taunt, he just stays attached. Game 4, pivotal. Chicago needs a response. Rose comes out aggressive again. Early attacks, mid-range jumpers, a few go in. The crowd believes. For about 6 minutes. Then Miami adjusts again. They push Rose wider, force longer routes, turn drives into detours. LeBron starts anticipating moves before Rose makes them, and that's the moment the series tilts permanently, because anticipation beats speed. By the second half, Rose isn't losing because he's scared. He's losing because Miami knows his options before he takes them, and LeBron is always there first. This is where the tension becomes real. Derrick Rose doesn't back off, he doesn't defer, he keeps attacking the same way. And that's why this hurts. Because every possession costs more energy, every miss feels heavier, every whistle feels slower. And Miami feels it too. You can see it in LeBron's reactions. He's not celebrating, he's locked in, serious, focused. He knows what he's facing. a player who won't stop. Game 5 is the breaking point, not emotionally, structurally. Chicago's offense collapses under pressure. Rose is trapped, bumped, redirected. His shooting numbers fall, but his usage doesn't. And that's the trap. More responsibility, less space, no relief. LeBron, meanwhile, starts dictating both ends. Not flashy, efficient, ruthless. He doesn't need to dominate the scoreboard. He dominates the outcome. By the end of the series, the story is written by people who didn't watch closely enough. They say LeBron shut him down. They say Rose wasn't ready. They say the MVP disappeared. What they don't say is this. Miami designed an entire playoff defense around stopping one 22-year-old guard. LeBron took the hardest assignment every night, and Derrick Rose still never stopped attacking. No fear, no hiding, no excuses. And that's why this rivalry still sparks arguments today. Because one side sees victory, the other sees sacrifice, and neither side is completely wrong. By the time the series shifted fully to Miami, something else had already changed. The conversation. Not on TV, not in press conferences, among players. Because players understood something fans didn't yet. This wasn't just a playoff series anymore. This was a test. Not of talent, not of athleticism, of control. Miami believed control wins championships. Chicago believed chaos wins games. And Derrick Rose was chaos. Game 6 isn't remembered for a single shot, a single play, or a single stat line. It's remembered for how quiet it felt, how the noise drained from the building as Miami slowly pulled away, possession by possession, stop by stop. Rose comes out aggressive again because that's the only way he knows how to play. First step still explosive, confidence still intact. But something feels off. Not fear, friction. Every movement costs more. Every cut meets resistance. Every landing hurts just a little longer. LeBron feels it. And this is where the story becomes uncomfortable for both fan bases. Because LeBron isn't dominating Derrick Rose the way people pretend he did. He isn't locking him down one-on-one. He's managing him. Forcing Rose to the help, forcing him to pass earlier, forcing him to finish through bodies instead of around them. It's not pretty basketball, it's suffocating basketball. And this is where the Bulls lose the series. Not because Rose fails, but because Chicago never adjusts. They keep asking him to beat a wall with speed alone, and walls don't move, they grind you down. Late in the third quarter, there's a possession that never shows up in highlights. Rose drives left, spins right, jumps, sees LeBron sliding into position mid-air. No foul, no whistle. Rose lands awkwardly, recovers, jogs back on defense. LeBron doesn't celebrate, he nods. Because that possession tells him everything. Rose isn't backing down, but he's absorbing damage. And LeBron understands something critical in that moment. If this continues, Rose won't lose this series tonight. His body will lose future seasons. That's not mercy, that's reality. Miami closes the game, the series ends, and the narrative begins immediately. Derrick Rose wasn't ready. Derrick Rose got exposed. LeBron proved who the real king was. And that's where history gets lazy. Because what happened next matters more than what happened during the series. The offseason arrives, lockout-shortened year, less rest, less recovery, more pressure. Rose comes back carrying the weight of expectations and criticism that arrived overnight. LeBron, however, moves forward lighter, validated, confident, backed by a system that protected him. Rose moves forward. Heavier, still the focal point, still the solution to every problem. And then it happens. The injury. And suddenly the entire conversation rewrites itself. People don't talk about the defensive schemes anymore. They don't talk about Miami's traps. They don't talk about how much physical punishment Rose absorbed. They talk about what he was. And LeBron's side of this story changes too, because now people compare everything. LeBron adapted. Rose broke down. But adaptation requires support, protection, patience. And Rose never had those. This is why this rivalry still divides people. Some see LeBron as the smarter player. Others see Rose as the braver one. One avoided contact when needed. The other ran into it every night. And neither approach is wrong, but one costs more. Years later, when LeBron talks about guarding elite players, his tone is different, calmer, more respectful. He mentions Rose without saying much, because he knows something fans argue over without understanding. That version of Derrick Rose was unsustainable, not because he wasn't good enough, because he was too willing to pay the price alone. And here's the twist most people miss. If Derrick Rose never gets hurt, this debate never sounds the same, because the conversation wouldn't be about potential or what could have been or lost time. It would be about clashes, about adjustments, about rematches, about who figured the other out next. LeBron went on to dominate the league for a decade. That part is real, undeniable, earned. But there was a moment, a very specific moment, when the league didn't know which direction it was going. And that moment involved Derrick Rose running full speed into defenders who were already waiting for him. No hesitation, no calculation, no safety net, just belief. That's why his fans still defend him so fiercely, because they didn't fall in love with the results, they fell in love with the risk. LeBron represents mastery over the game. Rose represented surrender to it. One learned how to bend defenses until they broke. The other tried to break them outright. And when people say LeBron figured it out, they're right. But when others say Rose was different, they're also right. Different doesn't mean better. Different doesn't mean worse. It means the league wasn't ready for him the way it later learned to be. If Rose plays in a later era with more spacing, more protection, more load management, more patience, does this story end the same way? If LeBron plays in an era that doesn't reward control, that doesn't protect stars, that demands collision every night, does his path look identical? That's the real argument. Not who won the series, not who had the longer career, but which style survives longer under pressure. And that's something no stat can answer. Because every time fans argue this matchup, they're really asking something deeper. Would you rather be unstoppable for a moment or untouchable for a decade? Would you rather burn brighter or burn longer? Derrick Rose chose one path. LeBron James chose another. Neither was wrong. But only one of them left fans wondering what if long after the noise stopped. So now it's your turn. Not to crown anyone, not to tear anyone down, just to answer honestly. When you watched Derrick Rose in that series, did you see someone who wasn't ready? Or someone who was too real for the league he was in? Tell us what you think, and don't argue the answer, argue the reason.